Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. It is about 5 minutes since Inter Miami defeated Toronto FC 4-3. I'm your host, Scotty. I'm going solo tonight, just me and you guys in the chat. And I appreciate you guys being here, and I encourage you to get your thoughts out because what a game that was. Uh, Incredible start for Inter Miami. A goal in the 3rd minute, a goal in the 11th minute, a goal in the 20th minute. Inter Miami's up 3-1 before we know it. And then everything fell apart. A really bad penalty given by Cello Wiegand. Um, a really tough play from David Martinez, who gets sent off for a dog so red card. And then another penalty on Jordi Alba that allows Toronto to make it 3-2 going into halftime. We are down to 10 men. It is a struggle. And despite the fact that Inter Miami, especially going forward, played incredible over those first 20, 25, 30 minutes up until the red card. And despite the fact that Toronto was having a horrendous game in that first half an hour, Inter Miami looked like they were cruising to victory. And then all of a sudden, it all went weird and wrong and bad, and it got really nervy and nervous at the 27th minute moment, which is when David Martinez gets that red card for the Dogs. So very scary game from then on out, but we make a few changes at halftime. Yannick Bright comes in, and that settles down that transition threat that Toronto had was so dangerous for them after we got the red card. And ultimately, that allows Inter Miami to hold out for a 4-3 win. Matías Rojas with an incredible goal in the second half to give Inter Miami a 2-goal cushion to make it 4-2. And then ultimately, Toronto pulls one back in the 79th minute. A cross in that Noah Allen's just not quite tall enough to handle, bounces off of Prince Owusu and onto Allen and then in. I think that's probably going to go down as an own goal for Noah Allen. It looks like that's what it's at so far. Top line thoughts. The midfield was wrong. We got it wrong. And that's why we were having trouble early and especially in transition. But that's not really the main theme of this game. The main theme is that we were incredible for 30 minutes going forward, and Toronto was awful. And we built a 3-1 lead that ultimately leveled us through to the next round. Matías Rojas with a great goal early. Diego Gomez with a great goal. Luis Suarez with the composure and class to just tap it over Sean Johnson when he gets that opportunity in the box. And that is a veteran's goal for sure. And then Matías Rojas in the second half with a blast that was really fun to watch. And I'm certainly going to enjoy the replays when I get a chance to see them. Let's get into the chat. Cynical too, but well, that was interesting. Vamos. Absolutely. I don't know what this game means for us moving forward. I guess David Martinez will be suspended, so we will have to make some lineup changes. I can talk about that in a few minutes, but I'm just happy we survived. There was a moment heading into the end of the first half where you thought, man, this could get out of hand. When they get it to 3-2, all of a sudden it looked like, okay, Toronto can win this game, and that could be really scary. Rasa, a game where everything in football happens. I hope Aviles doesn't have a serious injury and we lost Martinez for the next game. I'm worried who's going to be the backup. I know it's going to be Busquets. Yeah, Busquets, I'm assuming it's going to be Aviles because he walked off under his own power. He looked fine walking off, so I imagine he's going to be healthy, but maybe Tata Martino will talk about that more after the game. And then if he is available, I think it's going to be Aviles and Busquets. If not, I saw someone on Twitter say, why isn't Ian Frey getting an opportunity over Noah Allen? Ian Frey's whole thing, I think Tata Martino said a month and a half ago that he still sees Ian Frey as a center back. And so if you're not going to put on Kristoff, maybe Allen's ahead of Ian Frey on the pecking order. I don't know what's going on there. I wish a reporter would ask Tata Martino about that. Hash, it was too easy until it wasn't. I think that is perfectly describing it. It can be too easy that it's not fair. And I think that's what happened. And the soccer gods came to us and said, not so fast, my friend. This team can never win comfortably. Skrilla, this game should have been 4-0. We have the worst karma, bad mistake. Yeah, and it was all self-inflicted, right? The cello foul in the box, that was just so silly. Um, them playing through our midfield happened because Yannick Bright wasn't in the starting lineup. That the ultimately the penalty or dog soap foul that wasn't a penalty on David Martinez that got him sent off. The reason that I believe it was Insigne was in position to make that pass is because Yannick Bright's not in the midfield, and instead we have someone who isn't in the right position at the right time. And obviously the third penalty for Toronto, a little tough. I'm not sure if that was really a penalty, but it was given and it stayed. So 3 big mistakes in the first half that were all self-inflicted that kept Toronto in this game when we had a chance to really put the screws to it and get out of here with an early and easy win. Should have been 5-0 had Bright started. I agree. Anton Bright just needs to start. So lucky Bernadeschi going off injured was huge. Very worried about our center back options for the next round. Yeah, didn't even talk about that. Bernadeschi goes out in the 18th minute, and he's not in for the rest of the game. I mean, it changes the game for them because if we go down to 10 men and they have their very best player attacking us relentlessly over and over and over again, it certainly could have been a different outcome. Nuno says Rojas left foot is a beauty. Absolute beauty. Rojas needs to shoot the ball every time. Yeah, and this is the thing about him being on that right wing, which we saw again. By the way, I know that first 25 minutes feels like it was just a blur, but looking back, we had that midfield of Gressel, Redondo, and Busquets, which just doesn't work. It can't happen. I honestly can't believe Tata did it. But in exchange, we had Rojas out there on the right wing. And again, he looks good out there. That's his natural position. He does things out there that you think should translate to the midfield that he just doesn't seem to translate to the midfield. And so I can understand why you'd want him in the midfield because you want him to have that interlinking play and being able to come from the midfield and fire those shots from deep. But he just doesn't seem to do that when he's in the midfield. But in this game, huge 2 goals, including an absolute banger in the second half. Better pray for Kansas City. I'm going to come back to this comment in a minute. Frey is being saved for the legitimate tournament that is MLS Cup. I hope someone asked Tata about Frey because the fact that he didn't start on Saturday against Tigres, which was your opportunity to rotate, it tells me that Tata doesn't feel great about where Ian Frey is. Poor coaching. My whole thing with Tata is I'm going to try not to criticize him too much if we continue to win the games we have to win. And we had to win tonight, and we did. So, at halftime, we took off Julian Gressel for Yannick Bright. I thought you had to bring on Yannick Bright. I wonder if there's a world, and let me know in the chat, if Suarez makes more sense to take off because you had the lead already. You didn't need a goal. And he doesn't provide a ton defensively. That said, I thought he put in a real shift in that second half until he did come off. So in hindsight, I think it was fine. But I was curious about who would be the right person to take off. And Tata goes with Gressel, and it worked out fine. So no complaints on the substitute. And then what other substitutes were there? Noah Allen for Toto Aviles when Aviles comes off in the 71st minute. Interesting that it wasn't Christoph who was available. Interesting that wasn't Ian Frey who also was available. Ryan Saylor wasn't available tonight, so clearly it wasn't going to be him. And then I thought the substitutes at the end made a lot of sense. You could have gone with Leo Alfonso just for that transition opportunities, but ultimately I think what he did was fine. That third goal, was that a deflection from Noah? Yeah, it was. He just isn't. The reason Noah Allen is not a true center back, and that's not going to be his position for the next 10 years of his career, is because he's not particularly tall. And he does a real shift for being what he is. And I give him a lot of credit because he didn't grow up as a center back. He's just been put there by Tata Martino. But there's a reason that he's not a center back. And ultimately, he did have a nice recovery today. I'm not going to criticize Noah Allen for not doing something that he isn't. Boosie and Gressel cannot be in the midfield together. Agree. And I think Redondo as well. And especially the three of them together. It is awful, man. It's so bad. Yannick Bright has to start. It blows my mind that Tata Martino doesn't see that. Thankfully, he makes the substitution at halftime. But here's what I'll say. If Yannick Bright doesn't start in our next game, if it's against the Columbus Crew, we're not going to win that game. Nuno says Suarez has the star reputation. Tata is a guy who sticks with the hierarchy. He doesn't like to rock the boat. I'm fine with Suarez staying on the pitch, but being unwilling to rock the boat and the hierarchy really upsets me because of guys that maybe don't deserve it. Guys like Cello over Ian Frey. Guys like Redondo over Yannick Bright. Right? Like, I don't know what those players have done to deserve the amount of grace that Tata Martino has shown them. But this is the instant reaction. So this is when you get to be emotional and say things like that. I'm sure when I rewatch the game for our post-game recap, I'll have clearer eyes. That midfield has no legs. Yeah. It's crazy how putting Yannick Bright in the midfield solves so many problems for Inter Miami. It shores them up defensively. By the way, David Martinez, he had his worst game so far, his 27 minutes on the pitch. That was the worst he looked. It was also the first time he didn't have a true six in front of him to help protect him, to help clear lanes, just to do what a holding midfielder does. And he looked much worse. Yannick Bright solved so many problems for Inter Miami. Defensively, he allows the rest of the midfield to play more creatively, which they like to do. He protects the back line. He allows the fullbacks to get higher up the pitch and play more offensively going forward. Like, he solves so many problems for this team that it blows my mind that Tata doesn't see him as an absolute must start. Cello absolutely stinking the gaff, culpable for at least 3 goals. Certainly culpable for the penalty, and had a real difficult time with Insigne, and whenever Richie Larea went over to that side of the pitch, he was really struggling. I think Martinez's red card is a blessing in disguise so that Bright starts next game. Yeah, this was one of my first thoughts, that now Tata Martino has to change the lineup up. And I really like David Martinez, and I think he's in our best 11, but this is going to force Tata Martino to change it up. And then this is what I wanted to talk about. We can't play that line against Columbus. Listen, Columbus is going to play Sporting Kansas City tomorrow. Columbus has not played in a couple weeks. They got a bye as the MLS Cup champions, so they didn't have to play in the group stage. So maybe Sporting Kansas City can have a great game, and maybe Columbus doesn't take them that seriously, and maybe they're a little rusty. Maybe Sporting Kansas City can pull an upset. I'm not expecting that. So for the rest of this conversation, I'm going to assume that we're playing Columbus again in the early to middle of next week. You can't start the same lineup, and I think that was Tatar's plan. In this game, we went with Drake Callender in goal, a back 4 of Cello, Aviles, Martinez, and Jordi Alba, a midfield 3 of Busquets as the 6, Gressel and the Federico Redondo as the 8s, and then Gomez at left wing, Suarez up top, and Rojas at right wing. That midfield doesn't work, and it will lose against the Columbus Crew. And thankfully, Tata Martino physically can't play it because he's going to have to put Busquets on the back line, which means he's going to have to start Yannick Bright. But that is a losing midfield to the Columbus Crew, and it's not going to be close or competitive. Last time we played Columbus, yes, Sujan makes a good point. Columbus did play Aston Villa last week, and they did beat Aston Villa. So it hasn't been that long since they played. The last time we played Columbus, we went with a back 5 and a midfield 2 of Benjamin Kramaski and Yannick Bright, and we sort of just let them win the midfield. I don't think that's going to be Tata Martino's plan because it's a must-win. But what that midfield was highly athletic and defensively what you need to play against the Columbus midfield. The reason that game plan was so effective was because it was so different. Columbus didn't know what to expect. We had a lot of different players on the field, and they had no idea that Yannick Bright was a monster. They know now, and so you have to set this team up for success. By the way, Ian Frey started that game and was incredible, had that opening goal on the header. If Tata Martino started the same 11 that he started tonight against the Columbus Crew, we would lose, and I would have no doubt about that. The fact that Martinez is not going to be available for that game, forces Busquets to the back line, forces Yannick Bright back into the midfield, I do think makes us a better team against the Columbus Crew, even though we lost probably our best center back in the process. But anyways, Ash, this team doesn't pass the eye test in terms of gameplay. They pass the eye test when Yannick Bright's on the field and Busquets is in the back line. I'll say it like that. Nuno Tata's talking. Yeah, I'll probably watch his post-game show after I finish this. And then Columbus did clobber Villa last week. All right, guys, I just wanted to have a short episode. I didn't want to stay too long. Obviously, Soar is unavailable right now. So I just wanted to get some thoughts on the field. I guess I'll go through each player real quick. David Martinez, obviously a disappointing performance. I thought he was bad, and then the red card made it even worse. Jordi Alba I think he had an assist on all 4 goals. I think I saw someone tweet that. Yeah, 4 assists for Jordi Alba. Incredible. Tota Avilas was fine. Cello, I thought, had another bad game. I think this game and last game were Cello's 2 worst games for Inter Miami. Rojas with a couple bangers. Busquets was fine, both in the midfield and defensively, but ultimately, he's not the reason we won or lost this game. Redondo was fine. Gomez had a goal. Gressel didn't do a ton, but I don't think was put in a good position. I will say those first 25 minutes for me are kind of a blur because it was so great, so fast, so quickly, and then it turned on a dime so quickly that I have to rewatch it because I forgot a lot of what happened already. And then Suarez with a nice goal to finish. Yannick Bright, game changer at halftime. And then the later subs, I thought, other than Allen, did what they were supposed to do. Leo Campana had a really nice pass to Redondo, who should have finished it for the 5th goal. But anyways, guys, that's it. That's the instant reaction. Me and Sora will be back tomorrow night for a full breakdown, full recap. And I hope to see you guys there. And I wish you guys a wonderful night. See you then.